Doctor mistakenly injects millionaire sperm into a poor black virgin, and their lives change forever. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from today. The morning sun shone bright over Los Angeles as Gabriel Lawson stepped out of his penthouse elevator. At 34, he had everything a man could want. His technology company was worth billions. He was about to marry the stunning Isabella Carrington, and life couldn't be better. "Good morning, Mr. Lawson," said Rosa, the cleaning lady, as she pushed her cart past him. He barely noticed her, too busy checking the stock prices on his phone. "Big day coming up, sir?" she asked with a kind smile. "The biggest," he replied without looking up. "Getting married this Saturday." In his office, Gabriel's older brother, Nathaniel, was waiting with a stack of papers. "Little brother, we need to talk about the company merger before your wedding." "Can't it wait, Nate? I've got wedding details to handle." Nathaniel's face darkened. "You know, if you focused more on business and less on that socialite fiancé of yours, maybe the board wouldn't be so nervous." "What's that supposed to mean?" Gabriel snapped. "It means Isabella Carrington cares more about getting her picture in magazines than being your wife. Everyone can see it except you." Gabriel slammed his hand on the desk. "You're just jealous because your own marriage failed. Fine, don't listen. But when everything falls apart, don't say I didn't warn you." At the wedding venue, Isabella was directing the decorators with military precision. "No, no, no. I said white roses, not cream. This is going to be the society wedding of the year. Everything has to be perfect." Her assistant Jenna ran up with a phone. "Miss Carrington, People magazine wants to know what designer you're wearing." Isabella's eyes lit up. "Tell them it's a custom Vera Wang. Make sure they mention the price tag." She turned to her friend Victoria. "Can you believe it? In 2 days, I'll be Mrs. Gabriel Lawson. That you're marrying the man you love?" Victoria asked. Isabella laughed. "It means I'll never have to worry about money again. Plus, being married to one of LA's most eligible bachelors will do wonders for my social media following." Back at his office, Gabriel stared at a photo of him and Isabella. Something felt off. The merger papers his brother brought sat unopened on his desk. His phone buzzed with another text from Isabella about the wedding. It was Rosa again, coming to empty his trash. "Sometimes when my heart is troubled, I find it helps to take a drive, clear the head." You know, this time, Gabriel actually looked at her. She had kind eyes. "Maybe you're right," he said, grabbing his car keys. The winding road along the coast had always been his thinking spot. As he drove his Porsche, questions swirled in his mind. Was he making a mistake? Did Isabella really love him? What was his brother trying to warn him about? He was so lost in thought that he didn't see the dog until it was too late. Swerving to avoid it, his car spun out of control. The last thing he heard was the screech of tires and the crunch of metal. At St. Mary's Hospital, Leah Carter was starting her evening shift as a cleaning lady. She was used to seeing all kinds of drama unfold in these halls, but nothing prepared her for the chaos that erupted when they brought in the unconscious billionaire who was supposed to get married in 2 days. "Get him to ICU," doctors shouted as they rushed past her. Hours later, when things had quieted down, Leah stood in the doorway of room 412. The mighty Gabriel Lawson lay still and silent, machines beeping around him. She watched as his glamorous fiancée came and went, more interested in posing for the photographers outside than sitting with him. "Don't worry," Leah whispered as she cleaned his room that night. "Someone will stay here with you, even if it's just the cleaning lady." She had no way of knowing that those simple words would change both their lives forever, or that sometimes the greatest love stories begin in the most unlikely places. The perfect life Gabriel Lawson had built was about to crumble, but from those ruins something far more precious would grow. Something real. The news of Gabriel Lawson's accident spread through Los Angeles like wildfire. At St. Mary's Hospital, the press camped outside day and night, hoping to catch a glimpse of the billionaire's famous visitors. Isabella Carrington made sure to arrive during peak hours when the most photographers were present. "Oh, darling," she would cry dramatically, touching up her lipstick before entering his room. "What will become of our wedding?" But Leah Carter, who cleaned the ICU rooms every night, saw a different story unfold. She watched how Isabella spent more time posing for photos than sitting with Gabriel, how she never touched him except when cameras were clicking. "Your brother was here again today," Leah told the unconscious Gabriel one night as she mopped the floor. "He was with some man I've never seen before." They were talking about company shares. The man had been Andrew Delgado, Gabriel's biggest business rival. What Leah didn't know was that Nathaniel Lawson was secretly plotting to take control of his brother's company. "Just sign here," Nathaniel told the board members. "It's temporary until Gabriel recovers. Someone needs to run things." But in private meetings with Andrew Delgado, Nathaniel's true plans came out. "Once I have full control," he promised, "we can merge the companies. Gabriel will wake up to find he's lost everything." Back at the hospital, Leah started spending more time in room 412 during her breaks. She would read to Gabriel from books she borrowed from the library. "My grandmother always said people in comas can hear," she told him. "So I thought you might like some company." One day, she overheard Isabella arguing on her phone in the hallway. "I can't keep this up much longer," she was saying. "The press is starting to ask questions about the wedding. No, I don't care about his condition. I care about my image." Leah's heart broke for Gabriel. That night, as she read to him from The Little Prince, she spoke softly. "You know, Mr. Lawson, sometimes the people closest to us wear masks. It's the strangers who show us their true faces." Days turned into weeks. Leah noticed how the flow of visitors slowed. Even Isabella's camera-ready appearances became less frequent. "I have a charity gala," she would explain to the nurses. "I'm sure Gabriel would want me to maintain our social obligations." But Leah remained constant. Every night she would clean his room and talk to him. She told him about her life, how she was putting herself through nursing school, how she took this job to help pay for her mother's medical bills. "I know you probably can't hear me," she said one night, "but everyone needs someone to talk to, even if they're sleeping." What she didn't notice was how Gabriel's finger would sometimes twitch when she spoke, how his heart rate would steady when she read to him. Meanwhile, Nathaniel's plan was working perfectly. He had already transferred majority control of several key subsidiaries to his name. The merger with Andrew Delgado's company was nearly complete. Soon, he told Delgado over expensive whiskey, "My little brother's empire will be ours to split." But he didn't count on Claire, an old secretary who had worked for the Lawson family for 20 years. She had seen the suspicious paperwork and started making copies. "Something's not right," she told Leah one day while visiting Gabriel. "The company's being stripped apart, piece by piece." Leah felt helpless. "What can I do? I'm just a cleaning lady." Sometimes Claire said wisely, "Being invisible means you see everything." That night, Leah made a decision. As she cleaned Gabriel's room, she began telling him everything, about his brother's visits, about Isabella's true nature, about Claire's suspicions. "I know it's not my place," she said, holding his hand, "but you need to know the truth. You need to wake up before it's too late." And then something happened that changed everything. As she turned to leave, she felt it, the slightest squeeze of her hand. Leah froze. "Mr. Lawson?" His eyelids fluttered. She ran to get the nurse, her heart pounding, as the medical team rushed in. She stood in the doorway, watching as Gabriel Lawson began his journey back to consciousness. But the world he would wake up to was very different from the one he left behind. And the woman who would help him piece it all back together wasn't his glamorous fiancée. It was the quiet cleaning lady who had kept him company through the darkness. The masks were about to come off, and nothing would ever be the same. The doctors called it a miracle. After 2 months in a coma, Gabriel Lawson opened his eyes to a world he barely recognized. The first face he saw wasn't Isabella's, but Leah's, as she quietly cleaned his room during the night shift. "Water," he whispered, his voice rough from disuse. Leah jumped, startled to hear him speak. She quickly helped him sip water through a straw. "I'll get the doctor," she said, turning to leave. "Wait," Gabriel called weakly. "Your voice?" "I know your voice." Leah froze. "You could hear me, the pieces, stories, the little prince." His eyes struggled to focus on her face. "You were here every night." Before Leah could respond, the room filled with medical staff. She slipped out quietly, her heart racing. In the hallway, she pulled out her phone to call Claire. "He's awake," she said. "We need to move fast." Within hours, the hospital was swarming with reporters. Nathaniel Lawson arrived first, his face a mask of brotherly concern. "Thank God you're alive," he said, gripping Gabriel's hand too tightly. "Don't worry about anything. I've been taking care of business." Isabella burst in next, perfectly made up, despite the early hour. "Darling," she cried, camera flashes following her through the door. "I've been absolutely lost without you." But Gabriel's eyes kept drifting to the doorway, searching for the cleaning lady with the familiar voice. "Where's Leah?" he asked during a quiet moment. "Who?" Isabella frowned. "The cleaning lady. She was here every night." Isabella laughed. "Darling, you must be confused. Why would a cleaning lady matter?" But Gabriel wasn't confused. During his coma, Leah's voice had been his anchor. He remembered her words, her stories, her warnings about his brother and Isabella. That night, after visitors had gone, Leah returned to clean his room. "They're saying you'll make a full recovery," she said, keeping her distance. "Tell me everything," Gabriel said. "Everything you saw while I was asleep." So Leah told him about Nathaniel's secret meetings with Andrew Delgado, about Isabella's phone calls and camera-ready visits, about Claire's discovery of suspicious documents. "Your brother has been transferring company assets," she explained. "Claire's been gathering proof." Gabriel's face hardened. "And Isabella?" Leah hesitated. "She was more interested in photo opportunities than visiting you." "I'm sorry." Gabriel closed his eyes, pain crossing his face. "Don't be sorry. While everyone else was wearing masks, you were the only one telling me the truth." The next day, Gabriel asked to see his lawyer. Though still weak, his mind was sharp. "I want a complete audit of all company transactions made during my coma," he ordered. "And get me every paper Nathaniel signed." When Nathaniel visited later, Gabriel pretended to be groggy and confused. "The doctors say memory loss is normal after a coma," he said innocently, watching his brother's relief. "Don't worry about anything," Nathaniel assured him. "Everything's under control." But that night, Gabriel had Leah smuggle Claire into his room with copies of all the documents she'd gathered. They thought nobody was watching, Claire said, spreading papers across his bed. "But I've worked for your father's company for 20 years. I know every trick." The evidence was damning. Nathaniel had systematically transferred control of key subsidiaries, preparing for a merger that would have left Gabriel with nothing. "Your brother's meeting Delgado tomorrow night at the Morgan Hotel," Leah added. Claire overheard them planning to finalize the deal. Gabriel reached for Leah's hand. "Why are you helping me?" "Because," she said simply, "during those 2 months, I got to know the real you. Not the billionaire, not the CEO, just you." Their eyes met and something electric passed between them. But before either could speak, Isabella burst into the room. "What is this?" she demanded, staring at their joined hands. "Why are you holding hands with the cleaning lady?" Leah quickly stepped back, but Gabriel held firm. "She's the one who exposed your lies, Isabella. All those times you came here for photos while plotting with my brother." Isabella's perfectly made-up face crumpled. "You don't understand. Nathaniel promised me a share of everything. Once he took control, we were going to be together." The truth hit Gabriel like a physical blow. His fiancée and his brother, the two people he had trusted most. "Get out," he said quietly. "Get out before I call security." After Isabella fled in tears, Leah started to leave too. "I should go." "Stay," Gabriel said. "Please. I need someone I can trust." As Leah sat down beside his bed, neither of them knew they were about to embark on the fight of their lives. Nathaniel wouldn't give up easily, and somewhere in the city, Andrew Delgado was preparing to steal everything Gabriel had built. But for the first time since waking up, Gabriel felt strong, because now he knew who his real allies were. And sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't money or influence. It's having someone who believes in the truth. The Morgan Hotel's expensive restaurant buzzed with quiet conversation as Nathaniel Lawson and Andrew Delgado sat in a private booth, champagne glasses raised in celebration. "By this time tomorrow," Nathaniel smirked, "Lawson Enterprises will be ours. My little brother won't know what hit him." But at that exact moment, Gabriel Lawson was far from helpless. In his hospital room, he had assembled an unlikely team. Claire with her stack of evidence, Leah with her detailed observations, and Mark Jensen, his most trusted lawyer. "Your brother got sloppy," Mark said, reviewing the documents. "He didn't think anyone was paying attention. But these transfers won't hold up in court." "I don't want to wait for court," Gabriel replied, his voice stronger now. "I want to stop them tonight, Leah, who had just finished her shift, spoke up from her chair beside his bed. The meeting at the Morgan Hotel. If we catch them in the act. Exactly. Gabriel tried to sit up straighter, wincing. But I'm still too weak to go myself. Maybe you don't have to, Claire said thoughtfully. Sometimes the best moves are the ones nobody sees coming. An hour later, Leah walked into the Morgan Hotel wearing a borrowed waitress uniform. Claire had called in a favor with her cousin who worked there. In her apron pocket, Leah carried a tiny recorder. Remember, Gabriel had told her, squeezing her hand. You don't have to do this. I want to, she had replied. They need to pay for what they did to you. Now, as she approached Nathaniel's table with a fresh bottle of champagne, her heart pounded. She could hear them clearly as she pretended to struggle with the cork. Once these papers are signed, Delgado was saying, we'll have controlling interest. Gabriel will be nothing but a figurehead. Poor little brother, Nathaniel laughed, still lying in that hospital bed, trusting his big brother to take care of everything. Leah's hands shook with anger as she finally popped the cork. As she poured, she deliberately spilled some on Nathaniel's sleeve. You idiot, he snapped. This suit costs more than you make in a year. I'm so sorry, sir, Leah apologized, dabbing at his jacket while making sure the recorder caught every word. Let me get you something to clean that. Back in the hospital, Gabriel was on the phone with the board members. One by one, he called each of them, planting seeds of doubt about Nathaniel's actions. Check the transfer records, he told them. Ask questions. Look closely at where the money's really going. Isabella chose that moment to slink into his room. She had traded her usual designer dress for a simple black outfit, her face free of makeup. I can explain everything, she began. Can you? Gabriel's voice was ice cold. Can you explain why my fiancé was plotting with my brother to steal my company? I never meant to fall in love with him, Isabella whispered. It just happened, and then he promised me everything. The money, the status, the power. Get out. Gabriel's words cut like a knife. You and my brother deserve each other. As Isabella fled crying, Leah returned with the recording. Her hands trembled as she played it back. Nathaniel's and Delgado's voices filled the room, laying out their entire scheme. Send copies to every board member, Gabriel ordered Mark. I want them to hear exactly what kind of man they've been trusting. But Nathaniel had one last card to play. Storming into Gabriel's hospital room the next morning, he waved a stack of papers. Sign these, he demanded. Sign over your voting rights, or I'll make sure everyone knows about your little romance with the cleaning lady. Leah, who had been changing Gabriel's water pitcher, froze. You'd really stoop that low? Gabriel asked quietly. The press would love it, Nathaniel sneered. Billionaire loses his mind after coma, falls for lowly cleaning woman. Your reputation would be ruined. Gabriel looked at Leah, then back at his brother. You know what, Nathaniel? Go ahead. Tell everyone. Because I'd rather lose my reputation than lose my soul, like you have. Nathaniel's face turned purple with rage. He grabbed Leah's arm roughly. This is your fault, you gold-digging little... But he never finished the sentence because Gabriel Lawson, still weak from his coma, somehow found the strength to get out of bed and punch his brother square in the jaw. As Nathaniel sprawled on the floor, security guards rushed in. Behind them came Mark Jensen, holding the recorded evidence from the hotel. Mr. Lawson, one of the guards said to Nathaniel, you'll have to come with us. The board would like to speak with you immediately. As they led Nathaniel away, Leah helped Gabriel back to bed. His hands were shaking from the effort, but his eyes were clear. I meant what I said, he told her softly. I don't care what anyone thinks. You're the only real thing in my life right now. Leah looked down at their joined hands, his expensive manicured ones and her work-roughened ones. What happens now? Now, Gabriel smiled. Now we fight back together. Outside the hospital windows, the sun was rising over Los Angeles. A new day was beginning. One that would change everything for the cleaning lady who dared to care, and the billionaire who learned that true wealth isn't counted in dollars. But Nathaniel Lawson wasn't finished yet. Somewhere in the city, wheels were already turning that would test their newfound bond in ways they could never imagine. Nathaniel sat in his luxury apartment, nursing both his bruised jaw and his wounded pride. His phone buzzed with another message from the board of directors. His third official warning. But he wasn't reading them anymore. Instead, his eyes were fixed on an old photograph of his father. "You always liked Gabriel better," he muttered, pouring another drink. Well, watch what happens next. Across town, Gabriel was finally being released from the hospital. Leah helped him pack the few belongings he'd accumulated during his stay, including all the books she'd read to him. "You don't have to keep those," she said, embarrassed by their worn library covers. "They're important to me," Gabriel replied softly. "They remind me of who was really there when I needed someone." But as he tried to stand, a sudden wave of dizziness hit him so hard, he had to grab the edge of the bed to stay upright. His vision blurred, and for a moment he feared he might collapse right there in front of her. Leah reached for his arm, steadying him without a word. He hated how weak he felt, how his body betrayed him at the worst possible times. Even now, he thought, he wasn't the man he used to be, and maybe he never would be again. He drew a slow breath, forcing the tremor from his hands before he met her gaze. But their quiet moment was interrupted by a wave of reporters outside the hospital entrance. Headlines about the Lawson family scandal had exploded across every newspaper and gossip site. Heir awakens to betrayal. Billionaire's brother caught in takeover scheme. Society bride leaves coma victim for his brother. And now a new headline was gaining traction. Billionaire and the cleaning lady, a hospital romance. "Don't look at them," Gabriel said, noticing Leah's discomfort as cameras flashed. "They don't matter." But other things did matter, like the anonymous letter Leah found in her locker that morning. Gold diggers get what they deserve. Or the way some of the other hospital staff had started whispering behind her back. Even her supervisor had called her in for a friendly chat about maintaining professional boundaries with patients. "Maybe I should quit," Leah told Claire during their lunch break. "Find another hospital." "That's exactly what they want," Claire replied firmly. "Since when do you run from bullies?" Meanwhile, Gabriel faced his own battles. His first day back at the office was a minefield of fake smiles and hidden agendas. Not everyone was happy about Nathaniel's removal from the board. "Your brother had some good ideas about modernizing," one board member commented. "Perhaps you're being too hasty." "My brother had ideas about stealing," Gabriel corrected coldly. Anyone who supported him might want to reconsider their position. But Nathaniel wasn't done plotting. In a dark bar downtown, he met with a private investigator. "I want everything on her," he ordered, sliding Leah's photo across the table. Every secret, every weakness, everyone she loves. The investigator nodded. "What about the other matter?" Nathaniel's smile was cruel. "Yes. Make sure those financial records are exactly where the SEC will find them. My brother's gonna learn what it feels like to lose everything." Back at his penthouse, Gabriel was going through years of company records with Mark Jensen. The lawyer's face was grim. "Nathaniel didn't just attack the company," Mark explained. "He planted something much worse. False records, modified documents. If the SEC finds them, I could go to prison." Gabriel finished quietly. Leah arrived after her shift to find him surrounded by papers, his face drawn with worry. When she set her bag down, he didn't look up right away. He kept staring at the old portrait of his father above the fireplace, as if searching it for an answer he'd never find. In that moment, he looked as worn as she'd ever seen him. "Sometimes I wonder," he said finally, his voice low, "if I'm any different. If all the things people say about my family are true, about me too." He turned toward her, eyes shadowed. "What if there's a part of me that was always meant to end up here, surrounded by secrets and damage I can't fix?" Without a word, she started making coffee, falling into the comfortable routine they'd developed in the hospital. "You don't have to stay," Gabriel said. "This could get ugly." Leah set his coffee down. "Do you remember what you read in The Little Prince? About what makes something special? It's the time you spent on it." Gabriel quoted softly. "I've spent too much time caring about you to walk away now," she said simply. But life had other plans. That night, Leah received an urgent call from her mother's nursing home. The monthly payment had bounced. All her accounts were suddenly frozen. When she called the bank in a panic, the explanation was cold and clear. "There's an investigation into suspicious deposits, possible involvement in financial fraud." Leah felt sick. Nathaniel was attacking her too, making it look like she'd been paid to spy on Gabriel. Across town, Isabella was giving an exclusive interview. "I tried to warn everyone about that cleaning woman," she said, dabbing her eyes, "the way she manipulated poor Gabriel while he was vulnerable." And in his office, Nathaniel raised a toast to his computer screen, watching as his plans unfolded. He'd learned from his mistakes. This time he would destroy his brother not by attacking his money, but by attacking his heart. But he didn't count on one thing. The security camera footage Claire had secretly recorded of him planting the false documents, or the fact that Leah, despite her frozen accounts and ruined reputation, wasn't going anywhere. That night, as rain pounded against the penthouse windows, Leah and Gabriel sat together on his couch, both battle-worn but undefeated. "We could run," Leah suggested, half joking. "Move to a small town. Change our names." Gabriel took her hand. "I've spent my whole life running from real feelings, hiding behind money and status. Not anymore. So what do? We fight, but first," he pulled her closer. "There's something I've wanted to do since I first opened my eyes and saw you in that hospital room." As their lips met for the first time, neither of them saw Claire's urgent text messages or the breaking news alert about a shocking discovery in the Lawson Company archives. The storm was far from over, but at least now they had something worth fighting for. Claire's urgent text messages finally got through at midnight. "Turn on the news, now." Gabriel and Leah broke from their kiss to find every channel running the same shocking story. Old photographs filled the screen, pictures of Gabriel's and Nathaniel's father with another family. Sources confirmed that the late Richard Lawson had a secret second family, the reporter announced, including another son who may have legal claim to the Lawson fortune. Gabriel sat frozen, his world tilting for the second time in as many months. That's impossible. But the evidence was right there on the screen. Documents, photos, and a man who looked startlingly like his father. Marcus Rivera, age 40, a construction worker from East LA. "Did you know?" Gabriel asked Claire when she arrived at the penthouse still in her pajamas. "I found the files tonight," she explained, "hidden in your father's old office. But Nathaniel got to the press first." Leah watched the pain cross Gabriel's face. "Why would your brother expose this now?" "Because," Gabriel said grimly, "if this Marcus person has a legitimate claim, it could freeze all company assets during a legal battle. Everything would grind to a halt." "Including the investigation into Nathaniel's false documents," Mark Jensen added, arriving with a stack of legal papers. "He's buying time." But Nathaniel had underestimated his brother again. Instead of hiding from the scandal, Gabriel did something unexpected. He went to East LA. "You don't have to come," he told Leah as they drove through the pre-dawn streets. "I know," she replied simply. "I want to." They found Marcus Rivera's apartment building just as he was leaving for work. The resemblance to Richard Lawson was striking. "I wondered when one of you would show up," Marcus said, unsurprised, "though I figured it would be the brother who's been calling me all week." "Nathaniel contacted you?" Gabriel asked. "Offered me $5 million to claim my rightful inheritance publicly." Marcus snorted. "Didn't mention he was really using me to mess with you." Inside Marcus's modest apartment, over coffee and chipped mugs, the truth came out. Yes, Richard Lawson had another family. Yes, Marcus was his son. "But I've known since I was 18, Marcus explained. "Your father came clean, set up a trust fund for me. I never wanted his money or his name. I had my own life, my own family." "Then why come forward now?" "Because your brother found my daughter." Marcus's face hardened. "She's sick, needs expensive treatments. Nathaniel promised to ruin her chances of getting care if I didn't play along." Leah, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. "Like he froze my bank accounts and threatened my mother's nursing home care." Understanding dawned on Gabriel's face. He's using the people we love against us. But Nathaniel's plan was about to backfire spectacularly, because now Gabriel had proof of blackmail to add to Claire's security footage. Back at the penthouse, an emergency board meeting was called. This time, every member attended, including some faces Gabriel hadn't seen in years. "Before we begin," Gabriel announced, "I'd like you to meet someone." Marcus Rivera walked in, followed by Leah and Claire. On the screen behind them played Nathaniel's blackmail attempts, caught on Claire's careful recordings. "My brother thinks family is a weakness," Gabriel continued, "something to exploit. But real family, blood or chosen, is our greatest strength." One by one, the truth came out. Nathaniel's schemes, the falsified SEC documents, the attacks on Leah's and Marcus's families. "I move for an immediate vote," the senior board member declared, "to remove Nathaniel Lawson from all company positions and freeze his assets pending criminal investigation." The vote was unanimous. But in his apartment across town, Nathaniel watched the news coverage with a strange smile. He pulled out his phone and dialed. "It's time," he said to the person on the other end. "Release everything we have on the cleaning lady and make that call to the nursing home." Leah's phone rang minutes later. Her mother had fallen, the nurse said. It was serious. As she and Gabriel rushed to the hospital, neither noticed the man following their car or the fact that every traffic light they hit turned red, delaying them just long enough. Because while they were racing across town, something was happening at Lawson Enterprises, something that would make the secret family scandal look like small news. And in a private airport hangar, Andrew Delgado boarded his private jet, carrying a USB drive with enough data to destroy not just the company, but everyone Gabriel loved. The real war was just beginning. And this time, the casualties wouldn't be measured in dollars and cents, but in the lives of innocent people caught in the crossfire. As Leah held Gabriel's hand during the drive, she remembered something her mother once told her. Love is like a lighthouse in a storm. The bigger the waves, the brighter it shines. They were about to find out just how bright their light could be and whether it would be enough to guide them through the darkness ahead. The emergency room at East LA General Hospital was chaos when Leah and Gabriel arrived. They found Leah's mother, Rose Carter, already in surgery for a broken hip. "She was fine this morning," Leah whispered. Leah insisted to the nurse. How could she fall? But deep down, she knew this had Nathaniel written all over it. Gabriel's phone buzzed constantly, urgent messages from the office he was ignoring to stay with Leah. Finally, Mark Jensen's call couldn't be put off any longer. "The entire system is down," Mark reported. "Every computer in the building went dark 10 minutes ago. And there's more." Leah watched Gabriel's face grow pale as he listened. When he hung up, his hands were shaking. "Nathaniel didn't just attack the company computers," he explained. "He found something in my father's old files. Something that could destroy everything. What could be worse than a secret family? A secret deal?" Gabriel ran his hands through his hair. 20 years ago, my father supposedly stole the core technology that built Lawson Enterprises. If that proof gets out, all those jobs," Leah whispered, "all those people depending on the company." He sank into a chair, rubbing his eyes. For the first time, he looked as if the weight of everything might finally break him. "If this is true," he said hoarsely, "everything my family built, it wasn't just built on secrets, it was built on lies. And now it's my name on every contract, my signature on every report. All those people, thousands of employees, are trusting me to protect them. What if I can't?" He stared down at his shaking hands, unable to look at her. "What if I fail them all?" The nurse interrupted with news about Rose. "The surgery was successful, but something's wrong with her medical records. Her insurance is suddenly showing as expired." "That's impossible," Leah protested. "I just paid." But she hadn't. She couldn't. Not with her accounts frozen. "I'll handle it," Gabriel said immediately, pulling out his wallet. "No," Leah stopped him. "Nathaniel's trying to make me look like I'm using you for money. I won't give him that satisfaction." "Then what do we do?" A new voice answered from the doorway. "We fight back, together." It was Marcus Rivera, still in his construction uniform. Behind him stood Claire, carrying a stack of folders. "Those files Nathaniel found," Claire said, "there's something he missed." Meanwhile, across town, Nathaniel Lawson was celebrating his victory with Andrew Delgado in a private club. A toast, Delgado raised his glass, to the fall of the mighty Gabriel Lawson. But Nathaniel's smile faded when his phone buzzed with a message, a video link. When he clicked it, his blood ran cold. There was his father, Richard Lawson, 20 years younger, sitting at his desk and recording a message. "If you're watching this," the recorded Richard said, "then someone has found the false evidence I planted about stealing technology. A safeguard in case either of my sons ever tried to use the company for their own greed rather than the good of others." Nathaniel slammed his phone down, but not before Delgado saw. "What was that?" "Nothing," Nathaniel snapped, but his hands shook as he texted his contact at the nursing home. "Is it done?" The reply was not what he expected. police here, asking questions about suspicious activity. Because while Nathaniel had been focused on Leah's mother, he'd forgotten about the network of people Leah had helped during her years at the hospital, like Officer Mike Chen, whose mother she'd cared for in the ICU. Officer Chen, who now had a very interesting security tape showing a man tampering with Rose Carter's walker just before her fall. Back at East LA General, Leah's phone lit up with messages of support from hospital staff. She'd worked with them for years, patients she'd helped, families who remembered her kindness, all offering help with her mother's care. "I don't understand," she told Gabriel. "After everything Nathaniel did to ruin my reputation, he doesn't understand that real power isn't about money or control," Gabriel replied. "It's about the lives you touch." Claire burst in with breaking news on her tablet. The stolen technology story was being ripped apart by tech journalists who'd found Richard Lawson's old patents. The truth was coming out. But Nathaniel had one last card to play. In his private safe, he had something even his father hadn't known about. Something that would force Gabriel to choose between saving the company and saving Leah. At Lawson Enterprises, the computers suddenly came back online. But instead of the usual screens, every monitor showed the same image: a young Leah Carter in a police station being fingerprinted. 10 years ago, Nathaniel's voice came through the speakers. "Our little cleaning lady was arrested. Would you like to know why, brother?" Gabriel looked at Leah, whose face had gone white. "He found it," she whispered. "The one thing I never told you, the reason I had to take care of my mother. The reason I became a cleaning lady instead of finishing nursing school." Outside the hospital room, thunder cracked across the sky. A storm was breaking over Los Angeles, but the real tempest was just beginning. Gabriel felt the world tilt under his feet. For a second, he couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Some part of him, small and ugly, wanted to look away, wanted to protect what was left of the image he'd built, the fragile belief that maybe he was better than the scandals that had always defined his family. Shame burned in his chest at the thought. He forced himself to meet her eyes instead. Because Leah's secret wasn't what Nathaniel thought it was. And when the truth came out, it wouldn't just change her relationship with Gabriel. It would shake the very foundation of the Lawson family itself. As rain lashed against the windows, Leah took a deep breath. It was time to tell the story she'd kept hidden for 10 years. A story that began with another hospital, another wealthy family, and a choice that had haunted her ever since. "Your father," she said quietly to Gabriel. "I met him once, the night everything changed." Lightning flashed, illuminating tears in her eyes. The past was about to collide with the present, and nothing would ever be the same. Leah's hands trembled as she pulled an old locket from beneath her uniform. Inside was a faded photograph of a younger Richard Lawson standing next to a nurse. Leah's mother, Rose. 20 years ago, my mother was a nurse at Mount Sinai," Leah began. "Your father was her patient after his first heart attack, the one nobody knew about." Gabriel sat down heavily. "Father never had a heart attack. He kept it secret," Leah whispered. "Said it would hurt the company if people thought he was weak. He was there for 2 weeks. My mother took care of him. They became close." Understanding dawned on Marcus Rivera's face. "Like my mother?" "No," Leah shook her head. "Nothing happened, but he saw how hard my mother worked, how she was struggling to pay for nursing school for me. He set up a private account to help us." Claire pulled out an old file. "That's why I recognized your name. There were payments to a Rose Carter for years. But the arrest?" Gabriel pressed gently. Nathaniel said, 10 years ago, your father had another heart attack. A bad one. He managed to call my mother. She was the only one who knew about his condition." Leah's eyes filled with tears. "She got him to the hospital in time, but the doctors said he needed emergency surgery. They needed next of kin to sign the papers. But Nathaniel and you were out of the country." Gabriel remembered a business trip to Tokyo. Mother forged Nathaniel's signature on the consent forms. She knew every minute counted. Leah's voice broke. "She saved your father's life. But when Nathaniel found out, he had her arrested," Gabriel finished, fury building in his voice. "For forgery. Your father tried to stop it, but he was too weak after surgery. By the time he recovered, the damage was done. Mother lost her nursing license. I had to drop out of nursing school to support us." Leah wiped her eyes. "That's why I became a cleaning lady. But why didn't father fix it afterward? He tried. He set up a trust fund for us, made sure we were taken care of. But 3 days before he was going to reinstate mother's license, Leah couldn't finish. He died, Claire said softly. And Nathaniel made sure all records of his promises disappeared. Suddenly, slow clapping filled the hospital room. Nathaniel stood in the doorway, his face twisted in a sneer. What a touching story, he said. The noble cleaning lady who sacrificed everything. But you forgot one detail, didn't you, Leah? About what else happened that night. Leah went pale. Don't. The night our father had his second heart attack, Nathaniel continued cruelly, he changed his will. I found the draft in his papers. He was going to leave controlling interest in the company to a foundation run by Rose Carter's daughter. The room went silent. Gabriel stared at Leah in shock. That's why you got close to my brother, isn't it? Nathaniel pressed, trying to claim what you think is yours. No, Leah stood up, shaking. I never knew about the will. I took care of Gabriel because he needed someone. Because She stopped, looking at Gabriel's stunned face. Because you what? Nathaniel mocked. Love him? Please. You're just like everyone else, trying to get a piece of the Lawson fortune. That's enough. The new voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned to see an elderly man in an expensive suit, Judge William Harrison, head of the Lawson Company board. I got your message, Claire, he said, holding up a phone. And I think it's time everyone knew the truth about that night. Nathaniel's smirk faltered. What are you talking about? I was there, the judge said quietly. I was the one who drove Richard to the hospital when he called Rose. I was his best friend, and I knew all his secrets. He turned to Gabriel, including why he really wanted Leah to run the foundation. From his briefcase, Judge Harrison pulled out a sealed envelope. Your father gave me this, to be opened only if his children ever turned against each other. I'd say that time has come. With trembling hands, Gabriel opened the letter and began to read his father's last words. My dear sons, if you're reading this, then my worst fear has come true. You've let greed and power turn you against each other. I tried to teach you that a company is more than profits. It's about the lives we touch. Leah Carter understood that. Even as a young girl visiting her mother at the hospital, she showed me kindness without knowing who I was. That's why I wanted her to guide the company's future. Not because of who she was, but because of who she is. Gabriel looked up at Leah, seeing her through new eyes. All those nights she spent reading to him in the hospital, caring for him without wanting anything in return. She was living his father's legacy without even knowing it. This is ridiculous, Nathaniel sputtered. You can't seriously believe. But he was interrupted by a commotion in the hallway. Police officers were leading away the man who had tampered with Rose's walker, and he was talking. Mr. Lawson paid me, he was saying. Him and Mr. Delgado. They wanted to hurt the old lady to get to her daughter. Nathaniel backed away, but security guards blocked his exit. His phone buzzed. Andrew Delgado was being arrested at the airport. Everything was unraveling. But for Leah and Gabriel, things were finally becoming clear. I never wanted the company, Leah said softly. I just wanted to help people. Like my mother taught me. Like your father believed I could. Gabriel took her hand, understanding at last why he had felt so drawn to her from the beginning. In a world of masks and lies, she had been real. But Nathaniel wasn't finished. And what he would do next would make all his previous schemes look like child's play. Because he hadn't just found Richard Lawson's old will. He'd found something else. Something that would force everyone to choose between justice and mercy, between love and duty. And this time, there would be no going back. Nathaniel Lawson stood cornered in the hospital room, but the smile never left his face. With deliberate slowness, he pulled a USB drive from his pocket. You know what's on this? He asked, dangling it like bait. Every dirty deal father ever made. Every bribe, every cover-up, every skeleton in the family closet. Including some things about mother that would break poor Gabriel's heart. Gabriel stepped forward. You're lying. Am I? Nathaniel's eyes glittered. Did you ever wonder why mother really left? Why she abandoned her precious sons? Father didn't just have affairs, little brother. He had a whole secret life. And mother discovered something so terrible about his business dealings that she couldn't live with herself. Leah felt Gabriel's hand tighten in hers. She knew how much he had idolized his mother, who had disappeared when he was 12. Here's my offer, Nathaniel continued. Let me walk away. With a generous settlement, of course, and all these secrets stay buried. Try to prosecute me, and I release everything. The Lawson name will be ruined forever. Judge Harrison stepped forward. You'd destroy your own family's legacy? Family? Nathaniel laughed bitterly. Look around this room. A cleaning lady, a secret half-brother, an old judge who helped father hide his lies. Some legacy. But he had miscalculated. Because at that moment, Rose Carter opened her eyes in the hospital bed. Leah, she called weakly. Is that Richard's boy? Everyone turned. Rose was looking straight at Nathaniel with a gentle smile. I remember when you were small, she said softly. You used to visit the hospital with your father. Such a sad little boy, always trying to get his attention. Nathaniel's composure cracked. Shut up. You don't know anything about me. You would draw pictures for the sick children, Rose continued. Your father was so proud. He kept everyone. He did not. Nathaniel's voice rose. He never cared about anything I did. Second drawer of his desk, Judge Harrison said quietly. Behind the false back, every drawing, every school report, every newspaper clipping about you. He called it his Nathaniel box. The USB drive trembled in Nathaniel's hand. You're lying. He always loved Gabriel best. No, came a new voice. Claire walked in holding an old leather journal. Your father's private diary. Listen to this. Nathaniel tries so hard to prove himself, to be what he thinks I want. If only he could see that I'm proud of him just as he is. Tears filled Nathaniel's eyes. Then why? Why did he trust everyone else with his secrets? Why not me? Because you were too much like him, Rose said gently. So afraid of showing weakness, of letting people in. He wanted better for you. Nathaniel's legs gave out. He sank into a chair, the USB drive falling from his limp fingers. Leah picked it up. But instead of giving it to Gabriel or the police, she held it out to Nathaniel. Your father's secrets died with him, she said softly. These are yours now, to keep or destroy, your choice. Nathaniel stared at her, then at his brother. Why would you trust me with this? Because Gabriel said, you're still my brother. And father was right. There are more important things than money or power. Slowly, Nathaniel took the drive with shaking hands. He snapped it in half. I'm sorry, he whispered. For everything, but the moment was interrupted by urgent shouts from the hallway. Andrew Delgado had escaped custody, and he had taken something from his office before the police arrived. Proof of an even bigger scandal, one that could destroy not just the Lawsons, but hundreds of innocent families. He's heading to the press, an officer reported. If those documents get out... Gabriel and Nathaniel looked at each other, years of rivalry falling away in the face of a common enemy. The old tunnel entrance, Nathaniel said, from when the building was a newspaper office. Delgado doesn't know about it. Gabriel nodded. We can cut him off before he reaches the media center. I'm coming too, Marcus stepped forward. That's what family does. As the three brothers rushed out, Leah felt a change in the air. The storm that had battered their lives was finally breaking. But in its wake, something new was growing, something stronger than secrets or lies or old wounds. Rose reached for her daughter's hand. Your father would be proud, she said softly. Richard always said love was the best investment. Leah watched through the window as Gabriel, Nathaniel, and Marcus drove away together. But will it be enough? Because Andrew Delgado wasn't just running with documents. He was running with a truth so explosive it could tear apart not just the Lawson family, but the entire city. And time was running out. Rain pounded the streets of Los Angeles as three cars raced through the night. In the first, Gabriel gripped the steering wheel, his mind racing faster than the car. In the second, Nathaniel navigated the backstreets he'd learned during years of secret dealings. And in the third, Marcus drove with the skill of someone who'd worked these streets his whole life. Their target, Andrew Delgado, speeding toward the media center with documents that could destroy everything. He's turning onto Broadway. Nathaniel's voice crackled through their phones. The tunnel entrance is 2 blocks ahead, but Delgado wasn't alone. A sleek black car pulled up beside him. Isabella Carrington, making one last grab for power and revenge. Back at the hospital, Leah paced nervously. Claire burst in with her tablet showing traffic cameras. They've got him trapped, she reported. But Isabella's there too. Rose reached for her daughter's hand. Go, she said softly. They need you. Leah hesitated. Mom, I've spent my life helping others find their way. Rose smiled. Now it's your turn. Across town, Delgado and Isabella reached the media center's underground parking garage. But as they rushed toward the elevator, they found their path blocked. It's over, Andrew, Gabriel said, stepping out of the shadows. Nathaniel and Marcus flanked him. Delgado laughed. 3 brothers, united. How touching. But too late. He held up a folder. One call to my contact upstairs, and every dirty secret your father buried comes out, including the real reason he started Lawson Enterprises. We know about the stolen technology, Nathaniel said. Stolen? Delgado's laugh turned cruel. Oh no, much worse. Your father built his company on blood money, drug money, mob connections, all laundered through that first tech startup. Gabriel felt the world spin. You're lying. Am I? Ask your brother. Ask Judge Harrison. They all knew. Why do you think your mother really left? Isabella stepped forward, her designer heels clicking on concrete. Just give us what we want, Gabriel. A fair share of the company, or everything burns. But another voice rang out. No more lies. Everyone turned. Leah stood there, holding an old leather journal. Richard Lawson's real diary. Claire found this in your office, Andrew, behind the wall safe. Her voice was steady. You've been blackmailing the Lawson family for years, but you never read the last entry. She opened the journal and began to read. Today, I finally have the proof to end Delgado's hold on us. The blood money was his all along, laundered through shell companies. He's been threatening to expose his own crimes, letting my family take the blame. But no more. Mary, my love, if you ever read this, I didn't run that startup with mob money. I was working with the FBI to expose Delgado's operation. That's why you had to leave, to stay safe until we could prove everything. Gabriel stared at the journal. Mother was protected? In witness protection, Leah nodded. Claire found her, Gabriel. She's alive, safe, waiting to come home. Delgado lunged for the journal, but Marcus caught him. Isabella tried to run, but Nathaniel blocked her path. You know what I learned from being a construction worker? Marcus said, holding Delgado down. Sometimes you have to tear everything down to build something stronger. Police sirens wailed outside. Officer Chen led a team into the garage. Andrew Delgado, he announced, you're under arrest for extortion, blackmail, and conspiracy. Miss Carrington, you'll be joining him. As they led Delgado and Isabella away, Gabriel turned to Leah. How did you know to look behind the safe? Because your father left a clue, she smiled. In the story he used to tell my mother about a girl who found a garden behind a wall. I remembered you mentioning the same story last week. Nathaniel stepped forward, his face heavy with shame. All these years, I thought father was corrupt. That's why I became so bitter, so hungry for power, to prove I could do better. He was protecting all of us, Gabriel realized, even when we didn't know it. Rain still fell outside, but softer now. Cleansing. New. 3 months later, the Lawson Enterprises building gleamed in the spring sunshine. Inside, changes were everywhere. Nathaniel headed the new security division, using his knowledge of corporate darkness to bring light. Marcus ran the Lawson Foundation, helping families in need, starting with his daughter's medical care. And in the CEO's office, Gabriel sat with Leah, planning their wedding, a simple ceremony in the hospital garden where they first met. Rose would walk her daughter down the aisle. And in the front row, Mary Lawson would finally see her sons united. You know what I realized? Gabriel said, holding Leah close. All those years running a tech company, I never understood my father's greatest innovation. What was that? Understanding that real power isn't in computers or money or secrets. It's in here. He touched his heart. In love. In family. In trust. Leah smiled. Your father knew something else too. What? That sometimes the greatest love stories don't start with a prince and a princess. Sometimes they start with a billionaire and a cleaning lady who were brave enough to see past the surface to what really matters. Outside the window, Los Angeles sparkled with possibility. In the Lawson Enterprises lobby, a new plaque hung beside Richard Lawson's portrait. Success isn't measured in dollars, but in lives touched and hearts changed. And in the hospital where it all began, a garden bloomed where there used to be just concrete. A place where people from all walks of life could find healing, hope, and maybe even love. Because in the end, that's what the Lawson legacy became. Not a story of power or wealth or revenge, but a reminder that true love sees past every mask, heals every wound, and builds bridges across every divide. All it takes is the courage to open your heart and let the light in. So the story is over, my wonderful friends. Are you still here with me at this hour? If you are, I have to believe there's something in this story that touched your heart in a quiet, maybe even unexpected way. And maybe that's the most important thing to carry with you tonight. That life doesn't always unfold the way we planned. We spend so much time worrying about the image we project, about status or money or being seen as successful. But when everything fell apart for Gabriel, when all the secrets came crashing down, it wasn't power or reputation that saved him. It was one quiet voice in the dark, reading The Little Prince, reminding him that it's the time you spent on your rose that makes your rose so important. I think that's the lesson hidden between all the betrayals and boardroom battles. What makes something, someone, truly matter isn't the titles, the wealth, or the perfect facade. It's the time and care you're willing to give when nobody is watching, the grace to keep showing up when the world is telling you to walk away. Maybe tonight you needed that reminder too. That love can start in the most unlikely places. That forgiveness can be the bravest choice. That sometimes your greatest strength is the softness you've been taught to hide. So if you're still here with me, let's take one collective breath and let this story be proof that no matter how broken your past feels, you can still build something beautiful from the pieces. If this moved you in any way, if you felt your own heart in the cracks of theirs, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. It helps us keep telling stories that honor the quiet power of love, healing, and hope. Because in the end, all it takes is the courage to open your heart and let the light in.